The first scientific teams arrived within hours, a carefully orchestrated response that spoke to years of secret preparation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, head of the Global Xenological Research Initiative, stood beside Samira, her weathered hands moving carefully over a series of specialized scanning devices. 47 years in xenotechnology, Elena muttered, and I'd never seen anything like this. The ship's exterior defied conventional understanding. What had initially appeared to be a metallic surface was actually a complex living membrane that seemed to breathe and shift under careful observation. Microscopic structures moved beneath its surface, creating patterns that almost, but not quite, resembled communication. Carlos Ramirez had become an unexpected key witness. Brought to a secure facility, he recounted his experience with a mixture of wonder and barely contained fear. Local authorities had initially dismissed his story, but the evidence was now undeniable. His smartphone's camera had captured fragments of the descent, blurry images that would become some of the most analyzed photographs in human history. It wasn't falling, Carlos insisted during his debriefing. It was choosing where to land. Military strategists and scientists worked in unprecedented collaboration. The crash site became a hub of intense activity, with containment zones extending for miles. Satellite imagery showed something extraordinary. The landscape around the ship was subtly changing. Plants near the vessel began to grow at accelerated rates, while geological formations seemed to slowly reshape themselves. Dr. Khan's team discovered the first truly bizarre characteristic of the ship. Traditional scanning methods failed completely. Radar, infrared, acoustic, nothing penetrated the vessel's exterior. It was as if the ship existed in multiple states of reality simultaneously. We're dealing with something beyond our current understanding of physics, Samira explained to a closed-door session of international scientific leaders. This isn't just advanced technology. This is a system of technology so complex it borders on being a living organism. The global response was carefully measured. Major world governments maintained a publicly calm exterior while working frantically behind the scenes. Intelligence agencies from multiple countries converged on the site, each hoping to gain even the slightest advantage in understanding the alien technology. Unusual phenomena began to occur in the surrounding area. Electronic devices within a 50-mile radius experienced intermittent failures. Compasses spun wildly. Wildlife behaved erratically, with migratory patterns disrupted and strange behavioral changes observed in local animal populations. Dr. Marcus Chen, a quantum computing expert brought in as part of the research team, made an unexpected discovery. The ship seemed to be emitting a complex quantum field that interacted with human technological systems in ways no one could predict. It's like the ship is breathing, Marcus explained during a late-night strategy meeting. Not literally, but its systems are adaptive. Every time we attempt to study it, it changes, subtly, imperceptibly, but it changes. Carlos Ramirez became a person of intense interest. The local shepherd who had first witnessed the ship's arrival found himself at the center of a global mystery. Scientists interviewed him repeatedly, searching for any detail he might have overlooked. The light. He would repeat, it wasn't just light. It was alive. As days passed, the ship remained both a promise and a threat. No communication had been received, no explanation offered. Just a massive alien vessel, sitting silently in the Patagonian wilderness, waiting. Samira Khan knew they were on the precipice of something extraordinary. Whatever had brought this ship to Earth was no accident. Someone, or something, had deliberately left this technological puzzle for humanity to solve. And humanity was going to solve it, no matter the cost. The data crystal defied every known method of analysis. When Dr. Samira Khan first touched the artifact, it responded with a complexity that left her entire research team breathless. What had initially appeared to be a simple geometric object transformed before their eyes, shifting and reconfiguring like a living puzzle. Dr. Marcus Chen stood behind her, quantum computing algorithms running through multiple simulation scenarios. It's responding to your bioelectric field. he whispered, his fingers flying across a holographic interface. But it's doing more than just responding. It's analyzing you. The crystal projected a holographic map that seemed to breathe with its own internal logic. Star systems unknown to human astronomy flickered into existence, intricate networks of celestial bodies that challenged everything humanity understood about galactic structure. Each point of light moved with a purpose, connecting and disconnecting in patterns that suggested a language more complex than any known form of communication. Elena Rodriguez approached cautiously, her decades of xenotechnology experience giving her a unique perspective. "This isn't just a map," she muttered. "It's a test." With each attempt to decode the holographic projection, the crystal responded by adding another layer of complexity. Mathematical equations would spontaneously appear, solving themselves before dissolving into new configurations. Linguistic patterns emerge, fragments of a communication system that seemed to actively resist complete understanding. Carlos Ramirez, still working with the research team, noticed something the scientists initially missed. "Look at how it changes when different people approach," he pointed out. Indeed, the hologram subtly shifted its color and complexity depending on who stood closest to the crystal. Security protocols went into overdrive. The research facility became a fortress of scientific investigation, with teams working in carefully managed shifts. Every interaction with the crystal was meticulously recorded, analyzed, and debated. Dr. Khan discovered the first breakthrough during a late-night session. The crystal wasn't just displaying information, it was actively challenging whoever interacted with it. Each solved puzzle revealed another, more complex challenge. It was as if the artifact was designed to test the intellectual capacity of its discoverers. "It's a gauntlet," Samira explained during a closed-door briefing with international scientific leaders. "Whoever left this behind wants to see if we're capable of understanding it." The global scientific community became obsessed. Universities and research institutions worldwide began collaborating in ways never before seen. Theoretical physicists worked alongside quantum computer experts, linguists partnered with astronomical mapping specialists, and every discipline imaginable contributed to unraveling the crystal's mysteries. Unexpected side effects began to emerge. Researchers working closely with the crystal reported enhanced cognitive abilities. Complex problems that had previously seemed insurmountable became surprisingly clear. Mathematical proofs that had stumped generations were solved almost intuitively. Dr. Chen noticed something even more peculiar. The crystal seemed to be teaching as much as testing. Each interaction left the research team with new insights into quantum mechanics, computational theory, and understanding of spatial relationships that pushed the boundaries of human knowledge. "We're not just studying an artifact," Marcus explained during a breakthrough presentation. "We're being educated by something far beyond our current understanding." The military's initial excitement gave way to a more nuanced approach. This wasn't a weapon to be controlled, but a key to understanding technologies that could reshape human civilization. Global powers set aside traditional rivalries, recognizing that the crystal represented something far more important than any national interest. Carlos Ramirez became an unexpected crucial team member. His intuitive understanding, born from years of working with nature in the Patagonian wilderness, often provided insights that pure scientific methodology missed. He could sense patterns that computer algorithms overlooked. As weeks passed, the crystal continued to reveal its secrets piece by piece. Each discovery raised more questions than answers. Where did it come from? Who created it? And most importantly, what was its ultimate purpose? Samira Khan stood before the holographic projection, watching star systems dance and reshape themselves. She knew they were on the edge of something extraordinary, a discovery that would change humanity forever. The first transmission came without warning. It was during the annual Global Scientific Summit, a carefully orchestrated event bringing together the world's most brilliant minds. Massive holographic projections erupted simultaneously in every major city, transforming public squares, conference centers, and government buildings into windows to an alien world. The Kthar appeared both terrifying and mesmerizing. Their forms defied easy description, a complex fusion of organic and mechanical elements that challenged human understanding of life itself. Exoskeletons gleamed with intricate metallic patterns, while multiple appendages moved with a precision that suggested intelligence far beyond simple biological mechanics. Dr. Samira Khan watched from the main stage, her heart racing beneath a calm exterior. Years of preparation, countless scenarios war-gamed by the world's top strategists, had led to this moment. The lead Kithara representative, a towering figure that seemed to shimmer between solid and ethereal states, began to speak. The language was simultaneously translated through systems developed during months of intense preparation with the data crystal. Inhabitants of the third planet, the voice resonated, a sound that seemed to bypass ears and vibrate directly within the human mind. You possess technology that does not belong to you. Immediate return of our property is required. Compliance will ensure minimal consequences. The threat hung in the air, a cold mathematical certainty that spoke of countless subjugated civilizations. But humanity had been preparing. The data crystal had been more than just a technological puzzle. It had been a training ground, teaching them to think beyond traditional defensive strategies. Dr. Marcus Chen, seated next to Samira, leaned in and whispered, "They have no idea what they're dealing with." Carlos Ramirez, now an integral part of the research team, watched the proceedings with a shepherd's patient understanding. He had seen predators calculate their hunt, and these Kithara reminded him of those moments, confident, calculating, certain of their superiority. Global leadership had spent months preparing for this moment. Unlike previous human conflicts, this response would be unified. No single nation would act independently. The Kithara would face humanity as a single, coordinated entity. Samira stepped forward, her voice calm and clear. "Representatives of the Kithara Consortium," she began, "we acknowledge your communication. The technology you reference is now part of a collaborative research initiative that extends beyond your previous frameworks of ownership." It was a diplomatic masterstroke, not a rejection, not a challenge, but a fundamental redefinition of the rules of engagement. The Kithara representative's form seemed to ripple with something that might have been confusion or anger. Their communication systems, designed to intimidate and subjugate, encountered something they had never experienced before, a species that refused to be categorized by their existing models. Behind the scenes, a complex network of scientists, diplomats, and strategic analysts worked in perfect synchronization. The data crystal had taught them something profound. Adaptation was not just a survival strategy, but a form of communication itself. Global communication networks lit up with analysis. Social media, scientific forums, government briefings. Everyone was trying to understand the implications of this first true alien contact. Carlos noticed something the sophisticated monitoring systems missed. The holographic projections were subtly changing, responding to the collective human reaction. It was as if the Kithara were not just communicating, but actively studying humanity's response. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from a secure research facility, recognized the deeper game being played. "They're not here to negotiate," she told her team. "They're here to assess." The transmission lasted precisely 17 minutes and 42 seconds. When it ended, the world was irrevocably changed. Humanity had its first true glimpse of a galactic civilization, and they had responded not with fear, but with a calculated, unified curiosity. Samira Khan looked at her colleagues, a slight smile crossing her face. The real conversation was just beginning. Deep within the most secure research facility on the planet, Dr. Marcus Chen made the discovery that would change everything. The ship's propulsion system was not just advanced technology. It was something else entirely. A living system that blurred the lines between machine and organism, between computation and consciousness. His team had been working in shifts, analyzing the quantum signatures of the alien ship's energy conduits. What began as a systematic investigation transformed into something far more profound. Each layer of technology they uncovered revealed another complexity, another level of adaptive intelligence that seemed to anticipate their every move. "It's learning from us," Marcus whispered to Samira during their daily briefing. "Every test we run, every probe we send, it's collecting information, adapting, growing." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A junior researcher named Aisha Patil noticed a strange oscillation in the quantum field surrounding one of the ship's smaller components. What looked like a simple energy conduit was actually a complex communication network that operated on principles humanity had never conceived. Carlos Ramirez, now an honorary member of the research team, brought a unique perspective. His years of working with natural systems in Patagonia gave him an intuitive understanding that complemented the team's scientific methodologies. "It's like watching an ecosystem," he explained. "Not a machine, but a living network." The implications were staggering. The ship's technology wasn't just advanced, it was a complete reimagining of how technology could function. Traditional computing gave way to something more fluid, more adaptive. Each system within the ship communicated with others in a way that resembled biological neural networks more than mechanical circuits. Dr. Elena Rodriguez oversaw the most careful deconstruction in scientific history. Every millimeter of the ship was documented, analyzed, and studied with unprecedented precision. They discovered that what appeared to be a solid surface was actually a complex membrane capable of restructuring itself at the molecular level. Global scientific institutions collaborated in ways never before seen. Quantum physicists worked alongside biologists. Computer scientists partnered with linguistic experts. The alien ship had become more than a technological marvel. It was a Rosetta Stone of interstellar understanding. Marcus developed a breakthrough quantum computing prototype based on the ship's energy distribution systems. Traditional binary computing looked primitive by comparison. This new system could process information in multiple states simultaneously, solving complex problems that would have taken traditional supercomputers centuries to calculate. "We're not just copying their technology," Marcus explained during a closed-door briefing. "We're understanding an entirely new way of thinking about information, about existence itself." The global response was carefully managed. Military strategists recognized that this was more than a potential weapon. It was a fundamental shift in human technological understanding. Economic experts began to grasp the potential revolutionary impact on every industry imaginable. Aisha's team made another startling discovery. The ship's systems seemed to respond to human intention in ways that defied traditional scientific explanation. Certain researchers could influence the quantum state of components simply through focused thought, a breakthrough that challenged everything known about the relationship between consciousness and technology. Carlos noticed something the high-tech instruments missed. The ship's components seemed to have a rhythm, a pulse that felt almost alive. During one late-night observation, he swore he could hear a subtle melody emanating from the research chamber, a sound that existed just at the edge of human perception. As weeks turned into months, the research team realized they were doing more than studying alien technology. They were engaged in a complex dialogue with a system of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Samira Khan stood before the partially deconstructed ship, understanding now that their discovery was about far more than technology. This was a key to understanding the universe itself, a challenge left behind by a civilization that wanted humanity to grow, to expand, to understand. The real journey was just beginning. The Kthur recovery fleet entered the solar system with absolute certainty of their superiority. Massive vessels that defied traditional understanding of space travel moved with a precision that suggested millennia of technological evolution. Each ship was a marvel of engineering. Organic and mechanical systems intertwined in ways that made human spacecraft look like primitive toys. Dr. Samira Khan watched from the Global Coordination Center, her team of scientists and strategists working with unprecedented unity. They had spent months preparing, using the insights gained from the alien ship to develop a response that would challenge everything the Kthur understood about resistance. "They're expecting us to fight conventionally," Marcus Chen muttered, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "But we're going to fight differently." The first wave of Cathar drones approached Earth's orbital perimeter. Traditional military responses would have involved missile systems, defensive formations, and aggressive positioning. Instead, humanity deployed something entirely unexpected. Swarms of adaptive drones, developed using the quantum computing principles extracted from the alien ship, began to move. These were not simple remote-controlled machines, but intelligent systems that could think, adapt, and respond faster than any biological intelligence could process. Carlos Ramirez watched from a secure monitoring station, his shepherd's intuition proving invaluable. "They're moving like a murmuration," he observed, noting how the human drones moved with a collective intelligence that mimicked natural systems. The Cathar attack came precisely as predicted by the research team's advanced modeling systems. Each alien tactical move was met not with direct confrontation, but with a fluid, adaptive response that seemed to anticipate their intentions before they could be fully implemented. Aisha Patel's quantum communication systems played a crucial role. The drones didn't just respond to commands. They communicated in a language of probability and potential that the Cathar found impossible to predict. Each tactical formation shifted and changed, creating patterns of defense that existed in multiple potential states simultaneously. Dr. Elena Rodriguez explained the strategy to global leaders. "We're not fighting them," she said. "We're demonstrating a form of intelligence they've never encountered." The Cathar fleet found itself in an impossible situation. Every tactical maneuver was subtly countered before it could be fully executed. Their advanced scanning systems struggled to lock on to human defensive positions, which seemed to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. One Cathar commander, a high-ranking officer with millennia of combat experience, found his tactical systems becoming increasingly unreliable. Prediction matrices that had worked across hundreds of conquered civilizations began to break down when confronted with human adaptive strategies. The battle wasn't about destruction. It was a communication, a demonstration of humanity's fundamental capacity for innovation and adaptation. Satellite systems around the globe captured fragments of the encounter. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like an impossible dance. Alien vessels moving in complex patterns, surrounded by swarms of human drones that moved with an almost living intelligence. Marcus Chen realized they were doing more than defending. They were teaching. "Every interaction is an opportunity to communicate," he told Samira. "We're showing them that intelligence isn't about overwhelming force, it's about adaptability." The confrontation lasted less than 3 hours. When it concluded, no ships had been destroyed, no lives had been lost. But everything had changed. The Cathar fleet began a calculated retreat, their systems struggling to process what had just occurred. They had encountered a species that didn't just resist, they reimagined the entire concept of resistance. Samira Khan watched the final tactical reports come in, a slight smile crossing her face. The real conversation was just beginning. Humanity had just sent a message to the galaxy. "We are here. We are different. And we are ready." The negotiation chamber was unlike any diplomatic space in human history. Designed specifically for this encounter, it occupied a neutral orbital platform, a testament to humanity's commitment to a balanced approach. Massive holographic systems lined the walls, capable of translating not just language, but contextual nuance and subtle communication patterns. Dr. Samira Khan stood at the center, surrounded by a carefully selected team of experts. Linguists, quantum physicists, diplomatic strategists, and cultural analysts had spent months preparing for this moment. Carlos Ramirez, surprisingly, was among them. His intuitive understanding of complex systems had proven invaluable. The Cathar delegation entered with an air of imperial certainty. 8 towering figures moved with a synchronicity that suggested they were more of a collective consciousness than individual beings. Their exoskeletons gleamed with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change, reflecting light in ways that defied human understanding. Humanity has demonstrated an unexpected capacity for resistance. The lead Cathar representative began, its voice a complex harmonic that seemed to bypass traditional audio reception and resonate directly within the minds of those present. Samira's response was carefully measured. "We prefer to call it adaptive collaboration," she replied, her words precisely chosen to challenge the Cathar's fundamental understanding of interaction. The diplomatic dance began in earnest. Where traditional negotiations would involve posturing and territorial demands, this encounter became something far more complex. The Cathar found themselves confronted with a species that refused to be categorized by their existing galactic protocols. Dr. Marcus Chen had prepared a revolutionary proposal. Instead of seeking dominance or submission, humanity offered a radical framework of technological and cultural exchange. The Cathar would receive unprecedented access to human research, but on terms that fundamentally challenged their hierarchical understanding of civilization. "We are not seeking to conquer," Samira explained, "but to collaborate in ways that expand understanding for both our civilizations." The Cathar delegation's collective form seemed to ripple with a mixture of confusion and intrigue. Their communication systems, designed to categorize and control, encountered a diplomatic approach that existed outside their comprehension. Carlos Ramirez observed something the high-tech monitoring systems missed. The Cathar's communication was not just verbal. Their entire physical presence was a form of language. Subtle shifts in their exoskeleton, minute changes in their collective positioning, all carried layers of meaning. Aisha Patel's quantum communication systems worked overtime, translating not just words, but intention and contextual nuance. The negotiation became a complex dance of potential meanings, with each statement existing in multiple interpretative states. Dr. Elena Rodriguez recognized the deeper strategy at play. This was not just a diplomatic meeting, it was a fundamental challenge to the Cathar's understanding of interstellar relationships. Humanity was presenting itself not as a potential conquest, but as an equal and potentially superior form of intelligence. The Cathar proposal came unexpectedly. Instead of demanding the return of their technology, they offered a form of collaborative research that would have been unimaginable with any previous species they had encountered. It was less an offer and more a test, a way to understand this unprecedented human approach. Samira understood the deeper game. Every moment of the negotiation was an opportunity to demonstrate humanity's unique capacity for adaptation, innovation, and collaborative thinking. Hours passed. The negotiation transcended traditional diplomatic frameworks. Mathematical equations became a form of communication. Quantum probability models were exchanged like diplomatic credentials. The very nature of the conversation challenged everything the Cathar understood about interspecies interaction. As the initial session concluded, something fundamental had changed. The Cathar no longer saw humanity as a potential conquest. They now saw them as a complex, unpredictable force that defied their millennia-old understanding of galactic civilization. The real conversation was just beginning. The Cathar response was predictably aggressive. A massive fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system, bringing technologies that had subjugated countless civilizations over millennia. Their war machines were living weapons, organic computational systems that had perfected the art of conquest across generations. Dr. Samira Khan watched the fleet's approach from the Global Defense Coordination Center. Unlike previous human military strategies, this would be something entirely different. The lessons learned from the alien ship had transformed humanity's entire approach to defensive strategy. "They're coming with everything they have," Marcus Chen observed, his fingers dancing across complex holographic interfaces. "But they have no idea what they're walking into." The first wave of Cathar assault drones approached with mathematical precision. They had conquered countless civilizations using strategies refined over thousands of years. Each approach had been carefully calculated, each potential resistance scenario meticulously planned. Humanity's response defied every known military doctrine. Instead of conventional defensive formations, human systems deployed a network of adaptive intelligence that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Quantum-entangled defense networks responded to potential threats before they could fully materialize. Each defensive system was not just a weapon, but a learning entity that could predict, adapt, and counter in milliseconds. Carlos Ramirez, now a key strategic advisor, brought an unexpected perspective. His years of observing natural systems in Patagonia had given him an intuitive understanding of adaptive strategies. "They're thinking like predators," he explained to the team. "We're thinking like an entire ecosystem." Aisha Patel's quantum communication systems became the backbone of the human defense. The Cathar found their most advanced scanning technologies rendered useless. Human defensive systems existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, present and not present, predictable and completely random. The battle was unlike any conflict in galactic history. Cathar commanders watched in increasing frustration as their most sophisticated attack patterns were neutralized before they could be fully implemented. Their war machines, designed to overwhelm through sheer computational superiority, encountered a form of intelligence that operated on entirely different principles. Dr. Elena Rodriguez explained the strategy to global leadership. "We're not just defending," she said. "We're demonstrating a fundamental difference in how intelligence can function." Each Cathar assault wave met with a response that was less a traditional defense and more a complex communication. Human systems didn't just block attacks. They learned from them, adapted to them, and transformed them into opportunities for understanding. Massive computational networks worked in perfect synchronization. What appeared to be defensive systems were actually complex learning entities, each interaction expanding their understanding of potential conflict scenarios. The Cathar fleet found itself in an impossible situation. Their millennia of conquest had prepared them for resistance, but this was something else entirely. Humanity was not fighting to win. They were fighting to communicate, to demonstrate a fundamentally different approach to intelligence and conflict. Orbital sensors captured an extraordinary sight. Cathar vessels moved with their traditional precision, surrounded by human defensive systems that seemed to dance and flow like living organisms. No traditional weapons were fired. No direct destruction occurred. It was a battle of pure intelligence. Marcus Chen realized they were doing more than defending. They were teaching. "Every interaction is an opportunity," he told Samira. "We're showing them that true intelligence is about adaptation, not domination." As hours passed, the Cathar fleet began a calculated retreat. Their most advanced computational systems were overwhelmed by an approach to conflict that existed outside their comprehension. Samira Khan watched the final tactical reports, understanding that this was more than a military engagement. This was a message to the galaxy. Humanity had just redefined the very concept of conflict. The conference hall fell silent as Dr. Samira Khan stepped forward. Representatives from dozens of species filled the room, a gathering that would have been unimaginable just months earlier. The abandoned starship that had started everything stood as a centerpiece, its complex systems now a symbol of collaborative potential rather than a weapon of conquest. "We stand here today," Samira began, her voice calm and clear, not as conquerors, not as survivors, but as explorers of a new kind of understanding. Carlos Ramirez sat among the diplomatic advisors, his journey from a simple Patagonian shepherd to a key interstellar diplomatic strategist, a testament to humanity's remarkable adaptability. He watched as the various alien species, some still wary, some genuinely curious, listened to Samira's words. The Adaptive Coalition, as it had been named, represented something entirely new in galactic history. It wasn't an empire. It wasn't a military alliance. It was a collaborative framework that challenged every existing model of interspecies interaction. Dr. Marcus Chen presented the technological breakthrough that had made this moment possible. The quantum communication systems developed from the alien ship had transformed how different species could interact. Translation was no longer about converting words, but about understanding intention, context, and the subtle nuances of communication. The Cathar delegation sat in a carefully designed section of the hall. Their once imposing forms now seemed almost uncertain, their collective consciousness grappling with a fundamental shift in their understanding of intelligence and civilization. Aisha Patel, now leading the Interspecies Communication Research Institute, demonstrated how the new communication technologies worked. Complex holographic displays showed how different species could now communicate not just through language, but through shared computational experiences. This is more than technology, Aisha explained. This is a new way of understanding each other. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reflected on the journey. The abandoned starship that had arrived in Patagonia was no longer just a technological marvel. It had become a bridge. Challenge left behind by an unknown civilization to test the potential of emerging intelligent life. The representatives from various species shared their perspectives. Some spoke of previous conflicts, of generations of misunderstanding. Others spoke of hope, a genuine possibility of collaborative exploration that went beyond traditional models of interaction. Carlos remembered the day the starship arrived. A simple shepherd witnessing something that would change the course of galactic history. He thought about the complexity of systems, how a small change could create massive transformations. Samira held up a small component from the original ship. "This was not a weapon," she said. "This was an invitation to grow, to understand, to expand our concept of intelligence." The Adaptive Coalition was more than a political or scientific organization. It was a new approach to existence. Species that had previously been confined to their own star systems now collaborated on projects that would have been unimaginable mere months earlier. Quantum research stations orbited newly discovered planets. Communication networks allowed for instantaneous sharing of scientific and cultural knowledge. The barriers that had previously defined galactic interactions began to dissolve. Marcus Chen presented the final piece of the puzzle, a comprehensive framework for collaborative exploration. It wasn't about conquest or competition, but about mutual growth and understanding. As the conference concluded, something fundamental had changed. The abandoned starship that had arrived in Patagonia was now a museum, a testament to a moment that had redefined humanity's place in the universe. Samira looked out over the assembled representatives, understanding that this was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was the beginning of something entirely new. Humanity had not just joined the galactic community. They had transformed it.